Good afternoon. My name is Mathew Thomas Philip. I'm the founder of Thomas Philip. I'm here to spend 30 minutes talking about law firm management issues. I'm going to take 3 questions today. The first one coming from Mr. Bala, who's seated right here. You can see. You can look at the Trump camera or the Biden camera, whichever. You choose the Trump camera, okay? And what's your question?
So my question is that you have continuously pushed for CSR initiatives in this firm, which is fantastic. But it's not always easy given that lawyers have tight deadlines, lots of work on their plate. So why is it so important to you that we continue to do all this CSR work despite their packed schedules?
Right, so when we started Thomas Philip in 2004, we said that one of the purpose of our existence is to be able to go beyond profit for the law firm and go beyond that and to talk about the planet. So when we started the firm, we talked about that the people of our firm is important, profit is important, and the purpose of why we exist is important, and also the final thing is the planet is important. So planet can be interpreted in different ways. From my own perspective, as far as planet is concerned, we talk about making the lives around us better. So when we looked at the CSR, in the beginning of the firm's history, we looked at assisting some homes. I felt that we needed to go back to something more fundamental. So I started with an organization called Light Up Borneo, in which they were doing some really good work, bringing hydropower to Borneo. And I thought that's something that we could be involved in. My own view is, when we started the firm and we believed that that's something that we want to do, it's got to be part of this DNA. And so my perspective on this is that when lawyers choose to come and work for us, they already have been given notice that these are the things that are important to us. And I don't think the choice is made when you join the firm, to understand that the firm comes with certain values and you sign up for that. That's my starting proposition. So to the question of why is it that the lawyers in Thomas Philip don't seem to be putting any big effort into the CSR that we do, I think that the answer could be, number one, lack of clarity from me about why is it that this CSR initiative is relevant to us as a law firm. It could be a communication issue. The second issue is young lawyers are trying to get ahead. And Thomas Philip has got so many young lawyers who are worried about whether they are technically growing. So the focus is about technical growth. Am I getting enough experience? So because of that, they are inundated with work. And it's difficult in those circumstances to put up your hand and say, yes, I've got an affidavit due this afternoon and I'm really happy to jump in on a CSR. I think there are two problems. One is the lack of clarity. What does that mean? When we talked about this, the communication is not clear to all the partners. And I think that needs to take place. And the second part is finding a way in which lawyers can contribute a bit more structure. I don't think lawyers are going to say, hey, I want to volunteer. There needs to be a structure in which lawyers are guided towards participating. So I see 2 problems of why that has happened. So it's been driven largely by me. And I think that now the communication and the space for people to participate needs to happen. So that it's not a negotiable thing. Lawyers who choose to be part of this firm cannot say, I don't have time. We need to communicate and say, how do we find the space and time to do this? How do the partners arrange our affairs in which we can participate? The lawyers especially are already in the space in which they can contribute. I chose this particular project because there are many dimensions to it. So the answer is lack of clarity from me. It's not a situation I'm doing it, but it doesn't look like my other partners are into it. So there has to be some effort on my part. Then there will be a top-down. If they see all the partners are involved, it's more likely for the lawyers to get involved. So those are two reasons, I think. So I'm going to make that effort to be more clear. Hopefully, then we see a change in the lawyers' participation in it. And of course, lawyers need to be clear. How do I participate? What do I do? I don't think people are just going to stand up. Will that answer your question?
Yeah.
Do you have any follow-up question, or I finished the 10 minutes? Have I finished the 10 minutes? Anyone keeping the time? Okay. Okay, 3 more minutes on your... Have you got a follow-up question on...
Yeah, so we understand that it was one of your founding principles, but what do you say to the skeptics who think, oh, you're just doing these CSR projects for your self-promotion and to say that you're involved in the community? And so what do you say to the people who are skeptical of things like that?
So I like to think that when we are doing CSR, it has got to work from every perspective. So CSR is acknowledged already as something that's good for the brand. So whether we like it or not, every law firm will do something for the brand. Could be a specialization or something that they do for the brand. And so for us, the CSR is important for the brand. And so obviously there will be people who look at it and say that's self-promotion, and that's byproduct of anybody wanting to improve a brand. It will have that criticism. So I am not bothered about that. And it's good for PR, it's good for branding. So it can be costed in as something that's valuable for the organization to do from a business perspective. So those criticism I welcome. If the final product is people get electricity and the village gets help, I'm not really bothered about any criticism about we are self-promoting. It's like the least of my concerns. Thank you. I'll move on to another topic. Who's going to ask me? Sarah.
Hi, Mr. Mathew. So the question that I would pose to you is, would you consider appointing a non-attorney CEO in your law firm?
You're an American lawyer?
No.
No. So what non-attorney?
Non-lawyer
Oh, I see.
CEO,
Okay.
and abolish the role of a managing partner in your firm.
In my firm?
Yes.
You want me to resign? As in, I'm doing such a bad job. Right. So I think there's a lot of merit for a non-lawyer. There's a lot of merit for a full-time CEO for a middle-sized firm and a large firm. And there are a couple of reasons for it. Number one, it's very difficult to juggle running a law firm, which is basically leading many lawyers and bringing them under one vision. And I think it's really a full-time job. So when we're talking about partners who are in active practice, it is extremely difficult to juggle between running the firm and having an active practice, which is what is happening now. Managing partners volunteer that position. Most of them don't get paid extra for doing the extra bit of managing the firm. So I think that's a lot of limitations when a lawyer who's in active practice is also a managing partner. and trying to take on the role of CEO. So for me, yes, I want to resign as a managing partner, and I would like, hopefully, find, it doesn't have to be a non-lawyer, but a person who's dedicated to be a CEO. It would be great to find a lawyer who understands the technical industry part of it to be a CEO. So I don't think the answer is non-lawyer CEO is the answer. But I think we are focused on the fact that there is a probability that we should open up and appoint people to run it. Not an office manager. An office manager is easy, make sure the toilet paper is there. But it goes beyond that. It's about making sure that everybody, the firm is running in a particular direction, and providing leadership for that. So yes, I would like to resign. I would like to have somebody take over as a full-time CEO, and I think that's the way to go.
But are you aware that there is such rulings under the Bar Council rules and rulings which explicitly prohibits someone who is a non-lawyer, basically fully against what you're proposing, that is to resign and appoint a CEO?
No, I don't think which particular bar ruling are you talking about?
I'm talking about Rule 7.01, subsection 3.
What does it say?
It states that person in charge of advocates and solicitors' office, except for sufficient cause, no office of an advocate and solicitor or law firm shall be manned solely or left under the supervision of a person not holding a valid practicing certificate.
Yeah, but I don't think that provision applies to a situation where you are employing somebody to take on a CEO role. I think that refers to a situation where you can't have a branch office and not have a lawyer there, or a non-lawyer actually running it and manning it. It doesn't relate to, if that is correct, then you can't even have an office manager running it. So it's more in terms of that prohibition is not relevant here. So here it's about the fact that there's some limitations, yes, that he can't represent himself as a partner of the firm. In CEOs in companies, not all companies, CEOs have got a stake in it, but companies do give a stake or shares in the CEO so that the CEO has got skin in the game. But I think that, the world has evolved in such a way that I wouldn't worry about that rule so much. I don't think that's a prohibition. So I think, employees get bonuses, so you can be structured in such a way that they're performance-related bonuses. So I don't think any of those things will be stopping a law firm from hiring a CEO or a COO or an office manager. They're all just going to be employees. I think the challenge is, how does a law firm make space for a full-time, one of the ranks, that means one of the partners, to assume that role as a CEO and be rewarded accordingly? That means right now, the way partnership structures are structured is all partners bring in the money, and that's the value they bring into the organization. But what happens if a partner is deemed, I don't have to bring in any billable, but I share, because I take on the role of a CEO, I would have the same amount of profits sharing as would a person who's bringing the money. That's where the tough call is. The lawyers moving away and accepting that one person will still be treated as an equity partner, even though he doesn't bring in billable work. Those are the challenges, how to structure remuneration for lawyer CEOs who are from the partnership ranks. So if you say you say one of the partners becomes, you take on the role of a CEO, you're full-time, you don't have to bill, bring in work, right? So those are the challenges, but I think they can be overcome. It's about changing our mindset.
But then would you agree that your proposal is essentially and infusion of the legal profession with a profit-driven corporate structure?
I think today, right, I know that there's some comments by a Singapore judge saying that lawyering is not a business. And I think to the extent that we have ethical rules, we have boundaries, I think that's correct to say that, oh yeah, law firms are not a business, it's more than that. But again, I think I've heard this when I started practice. I think it's a bit too rich for us to say law firm is not a business, as if we are something super special. We would like to think we are super special, but I think that the way the world is evolving, you're just a service provider, but with very important roles to play in society. So the ethical boundaries, you don't do anything just for profit. Profit justify the means. But I think it's wrong to have this illusion that somehow we law firm is so special and that we are not in an essence a business. So I think I don't agree with that. I think all law firms are an economic entity. They have to be sustainable. Because no matter how much, I'm sure Sarah, right? If I don't pay you your salary is Friday, you're gone, right? I mean, we may say you love this firm so much, but so I think all law firms have to be profit-driven and sustainable, but that doesn't mean they need to be obsessed about that only, and that's the only dimension. So I disagree with the fact that there's something wrong with saying that law firms are business entity. It's not a business entity. I disagree with that. So I think there's nothing wrong, and I think the progress of providing better service to clients will probably come, whether we like it or not, when law firms are owned by non-lawyers. I know we all hate to think that law firms, and I know the Bar Council rules, of course, does not allow that to happen. But a big leap will happen the moment non-lawyers run law firms. Because they will bring in technology, they'll bring in more money. Whether it's good or bad, I don't know. But I think it will happen. Right? So we might as well just be clear about how we can evolve with that. I know lawyers don't want to hear that. Like we want to believe that because we are monopolistic, we can do this. I don't think this is going to happen forever. So, any other questions from your CEO, managing partner?
Just a final one. Why do you think CEO and a managing partner cannot coexist?
So, yeah, okay, so you can have a managing partner which takes on the CEO role, but I think it really needs to do this almost full time and then be rewarded as if, say, for example, one is we love our job, okay, and I wouldn't want to give up my court work and say I want to take on full-time being a CEO. Definitely I don't want to do that. I have interest in running the firm, but I don't have 100% interest to say I want to give up. So I think the challenge is many lawyers are in the same boat. I don't think anyone will give up their core skills and say I'll step up, I'll just be full-time. I'm quite sure that if we are passionate about what we're doing, we still want to be in the industry. Some people can reduce it, but it's very difficult, to say I want to not do this much court work. This is determined by outside forces. That's why I think that it's tough trying to juggle two things. I hope I answered you. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, I'll take on a final topic.
Yeah. Hi, Mathew. Basically, I know that you had implemented a 4-day work week in your firm.
Yep.
And the purpose is to reserve it for business development training for your lawyers, right? However, I realized that it's not as successful as you hope for, because most of the lawyers still need to deal with clients, courts, or even urgent matter pops up on Friday. So do you think of continuing this 4-day working period or revert back to normal 5-day work day?
So I think when COVID came in March 18, I managed to hoodwink my partners to agree to a 4-day week. We said we're working from home, and so why don't we experiment with a 4-day week? I think the experiment has failed because what I didn't take into account, which is stupid of me, was the fact that we are a 100% litigation firm and the courts are on Friday. The deadlines are on Friday. So as much as I had this dream that we could do it, right, I just think the fact that we are the courts are on, we have to be in courts, had impacted us badly. Number one, staff are given the 4-day week, but we realize actually how much we rely on our staff. And we find that there's always things happening that needed support. That was creating a problem. So whilst the idea in theory was a good idea, and it's basically, I got this thinking that it's not what you do at work, it's what you do after work that's going to improve your life. And given that this generation, Saturday and Sunday seems to be sacred. We were the last generation was stupid. We worked 7 days and thought it was normal. And we were just stupid. But the thing is, then what I wanted to do was to see whether we could condense the week into 4 days and have the Friday as like a development day where you actually improve yourself, especially your technical skills, your soft skills. You put some thought into it. That's what the idea was, but it's not working because the volume of the work in the firm is such that the lawyers continue, they're not able to finish the work in 4 days. So the whole thing has crumbled, it's not working. So unless all the partners say, hey, we are going to take on less work, we are going to make sure that all our lawyers only get 4-day volume work, and I think that's not going to happen. So we're probably going to rethink this strategy and maybe revert back to what it was before, which is a 4.5-day week, which I think is workable. And so the 4.5-day week means we're on Friday morning, and then Friday afternoon is development. I think that's possible. So I don't think at this point for a litigation law firm it's going to be possible for a 4-day week. My personal feeling is that this experiment has not worked out. And so we need to look at it again and probably get back to a 4.5-day week. Again, the whole idea is for lawyers to have time to do self-development. And I know your Saturday and Sunday is so sacred to you all. So that was why we wanted to open a space. So the bad news is, for young lawyers, too bad. You have to do your self-development on Saturdays, Sundays on your own time. That's how it's going to roll. Until the courts decide that they are not going to hear matters on Friday. They are going to read judgments or do administrative work. They'll hear 4 days in court. Friday is then reserved for reading judgment or writing judgments. Then we can follow suit. But until the courts change, we are in a business that needs to follow the courts. So I think it's not possible. So I have to admit defeat and roll back this plan. And it's going to be a difficult one because when we promise people in the firm that you have a 4-day week and then suddenly say we're going to roll back, it's going to be tough. I don't really care about the lawyers. I care more because the lawyers, you're working, you claim to be working 7 days a week, right? But who knows? Okay, anyway, but for the staff, it's going to be tough. I need to call the staff in, I need to talk to them and explain to them why we are rolling back. We have this idea that maybe we'll reward those who are in 10 years as a reward, and so that it doesn't impact the rest of the firm. So those are the things I'm going to do. Abolish the 4-day, bring back the 4.5-day week, reward those staff, only staff. Lawyers, we don't really need to care about them, right? Just the staff, we're going to reward 4-day with a 10-year, but the rest will be a 4.5-day week. And then with most of the development work on a Friday afternoon. Okay.
That's great.
Okay. Any other questions? We're done.
Yeah.
Anybody else wants to ask a question on law firm? In case you want to set up your own law firm, is there any questions you want to ask? Nicole, you look like you have a question to ask. This is like a bonus question. All three answered already.
So, because you always inspire the lawyers in your firm, no matter how young they are or like no matter how early they are in their legal career, you have always said that it is important for you to want to have your own law firm. But what is the difference between making partner in Thomas Philip, your firm, and having their own law firm? Like, what do you think are the pros and cons of that?
What do I think the pros and cons with that? Some people
Yes.
just want their name on the signboard. And for example, Nicole, it's going to be very difficult for me to change the name Thomas Philip and put Nicole in front.
Okay.
So Nicole and Thomas Philip might be your ambition, right?
Okay.
So some people's decisions about why it could be as simple as that. I want my name, right? I want my own. I don't like the way Thomas Philip is doing certain things. I have my own vision about what I want to do. And some people just want to do things their own way, right? And I think that's a legitimate thing to do. So the difference will be that during the period that you are in Thomas Philip, right, you will see whether first of all, you will want to assess whether you can be friends with these people. Now, if you're going to be a partner, right, can you be friends with this? It's not like rocket science questions. People think, right, you sit down there and think. I think that it'll boil down to, can I be friends? Okay, can. Do I share their values or not, right? What are the values? Yeah, I share their values. Are there prospects for me to be rewarded well? If I work harder, is it merit-based things, right? So in those situations, I don't see any difference in being your own partner or you are a partner as Thomas Philip, because you have the opportunity to do things. I think in this firm in particular, there's so much room for people to do autonomously a lot of things. But at the end of the day, some people just want to do their own thing. Some people say, I don't want to be a partner with other people. I would just want to be doing my own things. So I think the difference is some people just like the freedom. And being in a partnership, in a way, will curtail some freedom, right? So I think that's why some people would just say, I want to do my own thing. Some people don't like being accountable for their billing. If you're in a partnership, the billings and collections are accountable. Some people don't like that. They feel like, hey, why don't I just work for 3 months in a year and then I can do something else? So those are reasons why people want to do their own things. Apart from, if they share the values, they like the people. They did this research in Australia, asking people, why did you choose to become a partner of this firm? It was like, it's not, the answers boil down to simple things. So, because, look like they're good guys, they're my friends, and I get along with them. I'm happy to be here. So, but the big difference is some of you will have your own destiny. You want your own name. You want your own direction, and we can't stop that. So hopefully, what I would like to do is hopefully you do the right things here, and you go on to do your own things, and that works for all of us. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Do I do the Trump camera? Okay, thank you so much for joining us. Send me some feedbacks about how we could do this law firm. I'm directing most of my things that I want to say to young lawyers who have set up their firms, not my generation who know what they're doing already, right? And I'm just maybe sharing, if you're thinking about setting up your own law firm, if you're thinking about stuff like that in the future, I'm happy to share that. If you've got any topics for next week, I do this at 3 o'clock for 30 minutes. I'm happy to talk to you, share with you most of my mistakes so that you are aware of the mistakes I've made. All right, thank you, and see you next Friday at 3 p.m.